So this is Jack and Alyssa Wilt, who
I-
have been married about a year and a half now, right?
Yep.
They have little baby Isaiah, and they recently stepped into a fast together a few weeks ago. And I only knew about it because Alyssa had reached out just asking for some tips. And I inquired as to why they were fasting and was really encouraged to hear about it. But then I was even more encouraged afterwards when I got to hear them kind of download their experience and what God did. So as we finish the season of Lent, I thought it would be helpful for folks to hear a testimony from some people, but also especially some young people and a married couple who decided to do this together, to fast together, to seek God together. So, with that said, why don't you guys share what made you decide to do a fast together?
so Isaiah was born with a lot of issues. The biggest one being that he's severely visually impaired. His optic nerves are very tiny, so we don't know how much vision he has. We originally told he was blind, but we do now know that he has some vision. And then he has really low muscle tone, so motor skills wise, he was just very delayed in all his milestones, crawling, rolling, standing, all of that. And then on top of all of that, we found out he had a very large cyst on his brain. We found that out in, I want to say, October of 2025. So we went to CHOP and got a surgery, a cyst fenestration, where essentially they just nicked a hole in the cyst, and their hope was the spinal fluid would naturally, his body would naturally absorb it like it's supposed to. And the risk of that was that it got bigger, it didn't work, the cyst collapsed on itself, and it's kind of just there. And then he'd have to get a shunt, which is dangerous in of itself. So we were really hoping that this surgery would work, and we had to wait 3 months to find out if it actually worked or not. We got that surgery the end of November, and then we didn't get a scan till the end of February. So the week leading up to that scan, we were obviously anxious and nervous and not sure what the scan would show. So I think both of us were just trying to feel a little bit more trusting in God, because there's obviously some doubts there and anxiety. I don't think we felt the peace we both hoped we would feel. And then we watch a church, what is it, 2619?
2819.
2819. It's in Atlanta, Georgia. Sometimes we watch his sermons, and the one we just happened to watch, like exactly like a week out from his MRI, was one about fasting.
Mm.
Um, and he just talked about fasting, and why you should do it. He brought up different verses from the Bible about different times where people did it and why they did it and how you can get closer to God. So, I mean, after that, me and Jack just both looked at each other and we're like, I guess we have to, we should fast. This like big thing coming up uh, that feels right. And we both agreed, let's do a fast for a week and pray and see what comes up.
So the week leading up to the appointment was on a Friday, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
So you decided to fast for how many days?
When do we start? We watched that on a Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we decided to start the next day, Monday morning. So we fasted from Monday to Friday. So 5 days.
Okay. And you guys both did like two different kinds, right?
Yeah. I'm still nursing. So I wanted to have something in my body to continue to nurse. So I did the Daniel fast, which is, I'm sure a couple people know, but I didn't know. It was fruits, vegetables, legumes, things that I guess are natural or come from a seed, I think is like the specific term. So I just had like rice, beans, fruit, vegetables for 5 days.
What
And
about you, Jack?
Yeah, and then I just did a water fast. So
Okay. Okay. And had either of you guys fasted before?
I did only once. Jack did a couple times. I did one time for, I forget why, it was something for the church. Everyone picked the day. I don't know if it was for the building hearing. It was something for the
Okay.
church. I just signed me and Jack up and we did it for a day. That was my only time.
Okay.
Yeah, I had done like day long fasts previously just for health reasons, but um, not not many, maybe a couple.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Jack, this was the first time you did multiple days in a row.
Yeah,
Okay. So tell me about the experience. I mean, you guys have kind of overlapping but distinct experiences with it. How was it, Alyssa, how was it for you physically? And then how was it for you kind of spiritually?
Uh, Physically, the fast itself is really not, it was hard, but it wasn't that bad because, every time I felt like, oh, I'm starving, I'm absolutely starving, I had, I still had that comfort, which like also felt like a cheat sometimes when I talked to Jack at the end of the day and all he had was water. But I still had that like that reassurance that I could have a banana or I could have an orange or I could make beans right now. Like it wasn't what I was craving and it definitely wasn't
Yeah.
satiating at all. But I still had that reassurance of like, okay, if I have to eat, I can.
Hmm.
So physically, it's not. I didn't really lose that much energy food wise. I more struggled with the caffeine. I have a lot of caffeine. I have like two to three cups of either coffee or matcha a day. So just cold turkey not having any caffeine was really hard for me. And I think I told you this. It was so I guess physically and mentally for the caffeine, it was like a little embarrassing to me how much I relied on caffeine and how like sad and empty it made me feel that I didn't have that. I guess like being at home with Isaiah all day. I relied on that so much for like my superpower, my energy, so waking up and not having that, and when I got really tired and I hit these stints like multiple times throughout the day, I would always like look forward to that cup of coffee or the cup of matcha. Like that was like, I guess, a ritual in sorts. And I also told myself like that's the only way I could do this. That's the only way I could get through this day. So without that, definitely was challenging. Um, yeah, and mentally, I just realized that um, I wasn't relying on God for that energy,
Hmm.
um, for strength. Like I prayed for strength every night, and then I wasn't living that out. And like that's like one of the biggest things I realized, that I was like relying on essentially coffee, which like sounds ridiculous, but that's what I realized.
Very common though.
Yeah.
Very, very common.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's humbling, right? When you realize how dependent you actually are on some of these little treats you give yourself.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so you were kind of humbled in that way and felt exposed in that way, but then on the flip side, in what way did God kind of meet you there and fill you during that time?
Um, like you said, like it humbled me. I really felt like I was ever since Isaiah was born, I felt like a lot closer to God, and I started to understand Scripture in a way I didn't before. Sometimes when people would say things, I would really try and understand, but I didn't like feel it in my heart. And ever since he's been born, it's I have, and I feel like I've been able to articulate how I feel about it better. So I was feeling like I was doing a pretty good job, and then this fast came, and I realized. I just still have a lot further to go. And I guess it never really ends. I guess you're always constantly trying to get closer to God and trying to be a better person. But yeah, I just realized I was filling up, I guess you could say, like holes in my heart or voids in my heart with other things, like with distractions, with the, I don't know, the dopamine high of like making a good meal and then eating it, or going out and getting a coffee or making a coffee, or yeah, just like satiating things in general, I was filling up, I guess, what I feel stress or anxiety, especially since everything's been going on with Isaiah. I think instead of like really dealing with that and praying about it, I've really just been like eating,
Yeah.
eating, and like just looking forward to like sweet treats or coffee or food, things like that, things that don't really shouldn't hold that much weight. And I didn't realize they did until they weren't there anymore. And I realized I wasn't praying just to pray. I was really only praying when I wanted something or I wanted a certain outcome or when I was feeling badly. I wasn't just praying when I felt good or just trying to get closer to God. I realized like my motives there weren't, I guess, as innocent as I thought.
Mm,
So that's what I really realized, that I was trying to control everything, myself, like
mm,
trying to control my anxiety myself, trying to control what's going on with Isaiah myself. And I didn't
mm,
realize that until I was just sitting and had nothing to do but think and pray. I
mm.
realized that I really wasn't giving full control of everything up to God.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's honest. How about you, Jack? How was your experience physically first?
Yeah, I think physically the first few days were the easiest. Um, because not that it wasn't hard, but uh, just thinking about how much more difficult it was going to be on day 4 or 5, it sort of made it easier to get through those first few days. And
Mm,
then as you get into day 3, it's sort of this transition of you're getting closer to the end and you're also getting more hungry um, in ways, or you're a little bit more sort of like on edge.
yeah,
And then once you get to day 4 and 5, it's sort of like this back and forth between, feeling this peace, this sense of peace and this connection with God and this reliance on God. And also knowing in the back of your mind that you're going to be able to eat in a day or half a day.
mm,
It's like, it's not like it gets easier, even though I've heard people say that it gets easier, but it's sort of just changes the way that you look at it. Um, so yeah, that's how it
yeah.
was. Really.
And you're normally a coffee drinker, so not having caffeine, did you kind of just feel like a high from the like at some point, sometimes when I'm fasting, after a certain point, it's like I have all this energy um without having caffeine, just from kind of being hungry. Did you experience that or were you kind of dragging those later days?
No, I mean, I actually felt pretty great from not doing it. Like I was able to wake up a lot earlier and I didn't feel sluggish at all in the morning. Um, I felt more steady. I would say there wasn't like as much of a
Yeah,
high with how my day went. It was just like a constant um,
yeah,
state of mind, I guess, or feeling that I would have throughout the day. So that was interesting because I think I also have a pretty unhealthy relationship with food. Um,
mm,
I'll eat late at night, or I would eat a lot all at once. I'd sort of gorge, and I think that would sort of affect other areas, or I wouldn't really appreciate, what I had in front of me, and the fact that I was able to do this.
Yeah, I was really impressed with him. He was doing like so well. Sometimes I'd look at him and be like, did he cheat and like somehow have like a piece of bread or something? Like he was just very steady. He wasn't like ecstatic and full of energy, but he was just like very like, no,
yeah,
I'm doing good.
Yeah, I mean, you just realize like how much of your day is taken up with eating,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you're not doing that. Like I would look forward, like we have a running joke with my friends. It's like it's almost lunch, and not having those times to look forward to.
hmm,
It's like, what do you look forward to
Yeah, it like
now?
breaks up your day almost.
Yeah, I mean, might sound sad to some people, but it's like you have to fill that time with something else. So,
yeah,
um, just naturally you sort of draw closer to God, I found.
Yeah. How about spiritually? What happened? What how did God meet you during that time?
Um, I mean, I think for me, obviously, when we started this fast, we were trying to just get more clarity, I think, on the situation with Isaiah, and just sort of, again, draw closer to God, which we were able to do, I felt. But I think we gained more clarity just with work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Overall.
It was just like a lot. It was just really hard. It's been hard since I feel like you bought you
Yeah.
bought it. He's three
Yeah.
years into buying his own coffee roastery. So, and then of course, like 2 years in, it was like the worst time of all for every person in coffee because of tariffs and weather disruptions and things going on in Europe. And it was just like everything all at once made it almost impossible to live off of owning a coffee roastery as your income. And then we had a baby, and then that baby had medical issues. So it was just like a lot. Um,
Hmm.
and then someone offered to buy the roastery during all of this doubt and hardship with the business. So obviously that was tempting to be like, should we just give this to someone else and start over with whatever money we get from it?
Hmm.
We didn't end up doing that, but so yeah, so we're always going back and forth just and what we should do. Is this the right thing? It just always constantly seems like uh mostly to Jack because he's definitely dealing with it way more than I am, but like a slap in the face of like you should not be doing this. That's what it feels
Mhm.
like a lot of times. Like this is the absolute wrong thing. You're doing the wrong thing, and you feel, essentially feels like he's suffering for it. Um, so during this fast, I read a couple verses. A lot of them were in Matthew 6, and overall, I was just telling him I feel like maybe that God isn't telling us that the coffee roastery is not the wrong thing, but maybe how we're going about it is the wrong way, like trying to take complete control over it. Like if something goes wrong, if we lose a client, if we don't get a client, if prices get raised, like it's all up to Jack to fix it. It's all on him. He has to it, all the blame. I feel like he puts on himself, which I understand because it's his business and he owns it, and it's up to him to control it. Um, and I felt like we weren't bringing God enough into it. We would pray to Him about the business. What should we be doing? It was like a question we constantly asked. But I feel like the answer was so obvious, and we just kept looking over it because we were almost being selfish in a way, saying like, "Oh, well, we could control this. We could do this. We could get more money, like by making videos of ourselves and by talking." Like we weren't really like weaving God, we weren't giving the business, I feel like, into his hand.
Yeah, I think the easy way to put it is, I would get really frustrated or disappointed in myself because I didn't feel like I was holding up my end of the deal with God,
Hmm.
right? And this constant struggle where I'm like, I'm just not following through on the things that I say, or like I'm just not holding up my end of the bargain. And I was measuring it based off of financials. And I don't think that's always a bad thing, but I also think too, there is a certain point you have to get to where you have to realize, you are enough for God. And it's sort of like, if I have this correctly, um, just the fact that you can come to God and sort of surrender it to Him. Um, and understanding that no matter what state of life that you're in, it doesn't matter. And just the fact that you're able to give it up to
Hmm.
him.
Hmm.
And I think that's really what I was taking away from even what Lissa was pointing out. It's like, it's not like if you're not getting to these certain financial benchmarks that you're falling short of what God has
Yeah.
made a deal with you or some sort of covenant. It's more of like, this is going to happen in time in the time that God allows it to happen. And you just have to
Right.
trust that this is part of that process,
Yeah.
regardless of what line of work that's in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys both shared with me maybe this is a good kind of piece to end on. In Matthew 6:21, I forget which one of you felt like God spoke to you, but where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
So with Made Coffee Roasters, the business we own, when I read that, I felt like God was speaking to me that our hearts were not in the right place. Our hearts were, we want all the glory almost. Even though consciously that's not what we were going after, our actions were showing otherwise. So we wanted to make more money. We wanted to be better well known. And that's how we would place our value in ourselves and who we were as people and as parents. The more money, the bigger Maiden got. That was a reflection of our value. And when I read that, I realized, like, of course, things aren't going right. Of course, we're going to continuously be disappointed because where our hearts are in worldly things, essentially, and not in God. It wasn't, let's just show up to work and try our best. And God's got us the rest of the way, and he'll take us where we need to go with the business. Um, so yeah, that verse just spoke out to me, that I feel our hearts
Mm.
are truly in the right place, and that we weren't completely surrendering this business that we hold so dearly to us. We weren't surrendering it fully to God. We were trying to be the complete, like, owners and control over this, which essentially will, of course, will never have control over what happens with the business.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. And so, with that revelation, did it come with peace?
Yeah, it came with peace and, like, oh my gosh, like, it just, like, hit me, and it just made so much sense when I read it, which is, I keep telling Jack, I think I need to fast again, because the further you get from the fast, I feel like that feeling almost goes away.
Yeah.
Like, even trying to articulate it back, it's still not the same from the
Mm,
first time I read it and all the thoughts I had
Mm.
and what I felt. But yeah, it was
mm.
peace, and it just felt right. It felt like an aha moment that I, like, needed to tell Jack right away before I forget.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think fasting was just like the what we needed at the time, because it's like, especially with work, you find yourself measuring everything that you do based off what type of return that you're going to get. And I think culturally, that's where a lot of people are in America too. And it's almost refreshing to do something like fast with no expectation coming
Mm,
from. What I was taking away from it is, I shouldn't have these sort of benchmarks or expectations where it's like, all right, if I get to here, then I'm going to get this in return. It's more of
mhm,
like, as long as I can just believe in my faith during it, it's not really about anything else. And
mm.
um, that should be the focus. And I tend to lose sight of that, or at least I did, and I still struggle with it. But I think it's more clear now
Yeah,
what our focus needs to be on.
yeah. That's awesome. Any final thoughts?
Just that it definitely works. I used to, like, I understood why people fast, but I didn't truly understand. I guess it's like anything, you don't understand until you're doing it. Um, I didn't understand how could you get closer with God, or how could you hear God better. It just didn't click for me. And then now that I did it, um, yeah, it makes a ton of sense living through it and realizing when all the distractions are pulled away. I think you said something like that in a sermon, like we were made to be hungry for God, but we dull our appetites with other
Mm,
things.
mm,
That when I listened to that, or I forget if I listened to it on a sermon or I read it, but in one of the blogs you sent me, but that made, in the moment, that was like where I was at. And I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of
mm.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah, we all do it. We all do it. That's good. It's a good reminder for me hearing you guys. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate you sharing this. I'm gonna pray one more time. Um, I'm gonna pray that God would use this for people who listen and watch over the next week. So Lord, yeah, use this to move in someone else's heart maybe even other couples to fast together, to seek you together, not with an agenda, not with a list of things they want to get out of it, but just to seek your heart and be open to what you would do in them, the peace that you want to bring them, the clarity that you want to bring them, but just ultimately, Lord, just to be present with you. And just to realize that the things that we tend to fill up on in this world can't satisfy like you can. I thank you for Jack and Alyssa. I pray that you would bless them as they continue to hunger for you. Pray that you bless their marriage. And Lord, bless Isaiah. Keep healing that little guy. Keep healing him, Lord. Thank you for what you're doing in his body. Keep it up. Thank you, Jesus. In your name, amen.
Amen.